Hey, Ron Howe here from RB Bass, doing a little fishing report on the California Delta. Been out there a few times, doing some spring bass fishing during the month of April, and we've had a really weird winter, spring, winter, spring, winter here in California. It just wants to hang on to winter. Went out fished last weekend, had 2 really good days, right about a 30-pound bag per day worth of bites. First day I didn't get a few in the boat because I didn't change my line. My mistake, but I was out fun fishing. I wasn't tournament fishing, so I spaced a couple big ones, and once I switched my rod, I didn't lose any more fish. But the fish have been spawning, and there hasn't really been, for me, much of a pre-spawn bite because I didn't really target that, and I really feel like the pre-spawn bite happened a while ago. Most of the fish that I'm finding are either on the bed, leaving the bed, just finishing on the bed, and then new females moving in. But they're already past the pre-spawn mode. They're up there in that lethargic roaming mode. So how I've been approaching things is fishing areas that have hard bottoms, protected from the north wind, popular bays that you can find on the maps, typical spring spawning grounds, and I am throwing 6-inch stick baits with the little tiny pegged Rains tungsten weight. Nothing fancy there. 5/0 Daiichi hook. And what I'm doing is I'm looking for sparse toolies that tell me there's hard bottom. And I'm pitching that thing way up in front of the boat because the water's clear. Now, I have been catching fish on a Berkeley chigger bug. It's a newer bait. It just looks like a chigger craw body, but it has a wide stance claw. And they're liking that chigger bug when they're on the bed. Same thing, Rains, tungsten weight. Basically a 3/8 is what I've been doing, pegging it. I'm using 20-pound Berkeley trilene fluorocarbon. And when I see those beds, I'm throwing that in there. And you got to figure out how they want to react to that day. Someday they want that thing drugged to the bed, real slow counting pebbles to find a sweet spot. And other times you're hopping it and trying to just really get them upset, and they're chomping it. But they've really been acting good to that bait. Been catching fish in sparse toolies, protected from the wind. And I found fish all over the place. And I'm also finding fish where you're on the back of the toolie line, and say the bank's over here and the back of the toolie line's over here, and you got that gap. And it's 2 to 4 foot deep in that gap. But there's 1 or 2 little toolie sticks or a little cluster that's between the bank and the next set of toolies. Each one of those has got a fish swimming around it. So I've been really focusing on that as I'm blind fishing, right? So what I'm doing is I'm blind fishing areas that I think the beds will be in. And then in other areas, as the tide falls, I could see the beds. And then I'm sight fishing, right? And it seems to be that the sight fish are aggressive or willing to lock up and be agitated enough to eat when the tide's halfway down. Once it falls too far out, those fish get spooky. They don't seem to want to react to a bait. They'll just sit there on a bed and either do nothing, or the second you get near them, they swim away. Now, the water's really clear out there right now. So, basically, I've been targeting spawn fish, stick baits, catching wacky rig fish on the higher tide, little tiny nail, 6-inch, and then Texas rig around bedding areas, in and around toolies, and then of course the Berkeley chigger bug when I could see them on the bed. Those are the main ways I've been catching them. I've had a few chatterbait fish here and there. Most of those have been post-spawn. They're starting to get in current and feed. So there's a lot of empty beds out there, but there was also a lot of fish moving up. That was just the past weekend. Then we had real warm weather this week. Those fish continue to spawn out there. But guess what? It's Friday night. Cold front. It just went from 80 degrees to 64 degrees, and it don't feel like 64 outside. I got my beanie on, a jacket on, my hands are cold. So it's going to be interesting to see how those fish are acting tomorrow. My guess is it's going to be better when it warms up a little bit and we can get that halfway tide mark. That halfway tide mark seems to really be when they're really aggressive. So pick your best area out there in the California Delta that you think they're going to spawn in. Try to target at that halfway tide mark, and I think you're going to get those bigger ones to bite. Had several fish right under 7 pounds, 613s, 614s, 612s. Had a few fish in the 5-pound class, a lot of fish at the top of the 4-pound class in that 413, 414. range, and then the bucks are 2-pounders, right? I was able last week to find, it was pretty cool. I had caught a bunch of fish blind with the wacky rig. As the tide switched out, they started eating. Most of those fish were 2 to 4 pounders, a couple 5s. As it kept falling, those bigger ones came more available. I stuck a 613. I went up just past that, and I looked over and I saw a bed, and there's 3 fish on it. Had a 2-pound buck, a giant, and a 7-pounder to accompany that giant. I'm like, well, I don't care which one I catch, as long as it's the 2 big ones. I was able to flip in there several times. It was the Texas Shrig slow coming through the bed, real light Rains tungsten weight, and she picked it up twice. I missed her the first 2 times. I was able to get her the 3rd time, and she came in right at 10 pounds, 1 ounce. So I did catch a double digit out there last week. Didn't have anybody with me to take a picture, so I saw some bad angled videos and weighed her on camera. Got some still shots that I'll put in the fishing report that'll be on rbbass.com. So this right here is for YouTube. Make sure you check us out on Instagram at rbbass, Facebook at rbbass, and go to our website, rbbassfishing.net, rbbass.com. Register for e-news, and anytime we do fishing reports, they get delivered to your inbox. I hope this helps you out on spring fishing in the California Delta right now. A lot of fish are going to be moving to post-spawn, start looking for current real soon. Those fish will be feeding on current. And next week when it gets warm, man, look for that frog bite, that popper bite, that wake bait bite, and even the buzz bait bite to start getting going, man. Some little prop baits, some little lima finesse poppers, those things are going to start really catching some fish here as it warms up. So, see ya. Have a good one.